Hello once again. This is your professor, Daniel Reneta Cabulay, on the course Entrepreneurial Management. This is lecture number 14. I forgot to teach you the goodbye word in lecture number 13, and that is the Arabic for goodbye. And the Arabic for goodbye is my al-salama. My al-salama. I actually worked in the Middle East for 1 year. I was only 20 years old when I joined a large group of companies that was owned by the Crown Prince of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the quotation for that lecture, which also I forgot, your history does not define your destiny. So always learn to look forward to the future. Okay, let's get on with lecture number 14. What are the steps in developing a plantilla? First, you have to identify the key functions and departments in your company. If you're a flat organization, then it's a lot easier. Formulate the table of organization, so stemming from maybe the manager or the team leader, all the way down to the staff level. Identify efficient staffing per position. You already know how to compute the efficient staffing. There was a formula that I taught you previously. Identify the level of each position. Is it a managerial position? Is it a supervisory position? Or is it a rank and file position? And then you make the necessary adjustments because sometimes you think this person should be a supervisor when in fact he should be a manager, or vice versa. Or maybe a person should be a team leader, but in fact, he should only be rank and file. So you make that kind of adjustment. Then you develop the salary scale. How do you do that? Check out current labor practices. What is the minimum wage in your area? So if you're in Cavite, Batangas, Laguna, it's quite close to Metro Manila's minimum wage. The highest minimum wage per region is in Metro Manila. The ones near Metro Manila are quite similar or maybe slightly lower. Then you identify the level of each position. Decide on the compensation package positioning. Do you want to pay your employees below the minimum wage because you are a micro enterprise? You may do that. Or you just want to pay them exactly the minimum wage. Or if you want to gain loyalty so they can stay longer with you, and they will love your company for it and give you really fantastic service, especially to your customers, then you want to pay them higher than the minimum wage. Then you assign the basic salary range from the minimum to the maximum, because there will come along applicants who are very good and they will not settle for the lowest salary. They will probably expect a higher one and compare it with their previous salary. I'm giving you a sample of monthly salary scales. For staff level or rank and file or employee level, it should be somewhere between 16,000 to 18,000 pesos per month, gross salary. For a supervisory level, it could be somewhere between 19,000 to 24,000 pesos per month. For managerial level, it is probably going to be between 25,000 pesos and 50,000 pesos per month. So these are reasonable for a small company at startup. Of course, if you are not a micro enterprise, you're a bigger one, maybe moderate, a medium-sized company, you can afford to pay higher than the rates that I mentioned. Then you start to develop a 5-year projection. So once you've done your plantilla for year 1, add more columns for year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. Follow the example that I gave you in the Excel file and go over the sample business plans that I have sent you so you can have a pattern to follow. Develop a projected pro forma payroll for year 1, the basic salary plus benefits. Usually the benefits would comprise 35% of your gross pay. So if, for example, the salary of a person is 16,000 per month, you multiply that by 12 months of the year, then the payroll should be, increased, adding the benefits. The benefits could be your SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, 13th month pay. If you provide duty meals, the meals that your employees will consume each day, multiplied it by 360 days of a year, plus you're talking also about uniforms and many other benefits. Okay? So roughly that's safe to put as an estimate 33 to 35%. So go for the highest, 35%. Then extend the projection to 5 years. So you add 4 more columns for year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5, considering potential salary increases each year. So try to be conservative but be realistic. Make room for increase in plantilla because if you're expanding after 2 years, after 3 years, the number of people that you will have in your company might increase, especially if you have multiple outlets. Then you make the necessary adjustment. Now, the last part of the HR plan is your HR policies, standards, and procedures. Based on the 4 key HR functions, identify the essential HR policies and procedures. Procedures for personnel, procedures for training and development, procedures for labor relations, and procedures for organizational development. So anchor all HR policies and procedures on the company's mission, vision, and core values. It's very important that you anchor it from those. That's why you did that in the beginning, right? Examples of HR policies and procedures that you might want to incorporate in your HR plan: policy on attendance and punctuality, recruitment and selection, employee training, employee compensation, employee benefits, hygiene and grooming, work schedule, employee uniform, code of discipline, employee promotion, succession planning, employee retirement, and labor union. Of course, you can add more policies depending on the topics that you want to cover. Okay? So it's important that your HR policies are exactly what you want to implement in your business. So we're down to pop question number 14 for this particular lecture. Most employers, particularly in the tourism industry, provide service charge as part of their benefits to their employees. You know what service charge is? That is the 10% added to your bill. Let's say kumain ka sa isang restaurant, long table kayo, ang total na nagastos nyo ay 10,000 pesos. So you have to add tax to it plus the service charge. So what is the service charge computed on a bill that is totaling 10,000 pesos? What is 10% of 10,000 pesos? 1,000. That is going to be the service charge to be added to your bill. So you have to pay 10,000 plus 1,000 pesos plus the taxes. So it should be at least 11,000 pesos. What's going to happen to the 1,000 peso service charge charged to the customers? It is going to be accumulated for the whole month, and collected service charge for each month will be distributed to the employees equally. So if there are 10 employees in that restaurant, so it's going to be divided to them equally. Assuming that the total service charge collected during the month was 150,000 pesos divided by 10 employees, then each employee will get 15,000 service charge on top of his basic salary. Okay? So that's how it works. Kaya yung mga waiters, mga room attendants, no, they're very happy to work at minimum wage. It's all right because inaasahan nila yung service charge. Kung minsan mas malaki pa yung service charge kaysa sa kanilang salary. For example, Shangri-La in Makati, nagsara na yan, right? Pero bago sila nagsara, sila yung hotel sa Pilipinas na may pinakamalaking service charge. How much? 42,000 pesos a month. Eh kung ikaw ay isang bellboy, waiter, or dishwasher, probably you're on minimum wage, mga 16 to 17,000, plus you get a service charge of 42,000 pesos. So dishwasher ka lang, pero ang sweldo mo ay pumapatak ng something like 58,000 pesos. Isn't that great? That's why people are so motivated with service charge. Question, do you think it would be practical to have service charge as part of your employees' benefits in your proposed business venture? Gusto mo ba yan? So, yung mga nagbibigay ng serbisyo, you can add that like restaurants, hotels, bars, coffee shops, yan. Naglalagay sila ng service charge. At pag nakita ng customer na may service charge nang nakapasok sa bill nila, usually hindi na sila nagbibigay ng tip kasi yun na yun. The service charge is already considered as tip. But for some customers who are galante, aside from the service charge, they pay extra pa. Kasi they know the situation, the economic situation of these minimum wage earners. So naawa sila, naglalagay sila ng extra tip pa on top of the service charge. Okay? Some customers think that way. Okay? So answer that question I gave you and then explain your answer in 2 to 3 sentences only. This is an individual exercise. Okay? Deadline for posting your answers in the comment section of YouTube below this video would be October 5, which is Wednesday. Okay? So remember the deadline is October 5, Wednesday. So I'll see you in the next lecture and project task for this week, prepare a projected payroll for your proposed business venture for 1 year. I want to see that. Prepare a separate projected payroll for 1 to 5 years. Write 1 to 2 paragraphs to discuss the highlights of your projected payroll. This will be part of your midterm exam. So I'm trying to teach you already the components of your midterm exam. Deadline for submission, again, you will have to submit this in the group chat, your team's group chat, in which I'm a part of. So deadline for submission will be October 5, Wednesday also. So before I forget, I'll teach you another goodbye word. In French, they say au revoir or adieu. So you say au revoir or adieu. That is goodbye in French. So here's the quotation for this lecture. We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. Not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. That is a very powerful quotation from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., activist and spiritual leader. Au revoir, adieu. See you in the next lecture.